is the copywriter.
I'm Trent Ballard, and I'm a social media and print. So, there we go.
So after meeting with you at our first initial client briefing, we kind of came back and discussed as a group what we think that your three main issues were. And you had also said that you believe that the luncheon has plateaued in attendance and donations, and you also think that you don't have enough reach and awareness, specifically in social media. So the overall objective we wanted to focus on was creating an integrated marketing campaign that will make local Omaha corporations desire to invest in Outward Bound through attending the 2017 Climb Higher Luncheon. And by doing this, we wanted to increase the number of attendees from 500 to 600, while also increasing the money raised from 80,000 to 100,000, and also increase social media activity and interaction.
So our college puts a lot of emphasis on research. That was one of our main tasks that we wanted to do. We really wanted to dive in deep. For our primary research, we spoke with a bank manager and some hiring managers and a teacher in the local area. The banks, what we really learned was they want to be seen independent. They don't need their hand being held. They can take the directions they're given and run with it. And then one of the teachers we spoke to noticed that many students today lack perseverance, a willingness to try, and they definitely have a me mindset. They're not willing to work in teams. They don't want to try something and fail. They just want to put in the minimum effort. For our secondary research, we spoke with you guys at Outward Bound. We looked at statistics from the Omaha Public Schools and Nielsen, and some research that the University of Canberra did on Outward Bound. So what we found is, from talking to you guys, Outward Bound Omaha is the smallest branch in the country, but they work with North Star here in Omaha as well. But because they are the smallest, they are able to keep up with some of the other branches. We found that during the 2016-2017 school year, 74% of Omaha Public School students were on free reduced priced lunches. But 88.1% of those students that were on the free reduced price lunch plan qualified for free lunch because they are coming from homes that bring in less than $25,000 a year. In terms of reaching out to our target audience, we found from Nielsen that a simple benefit statement was shown to increase action intent. So showing the return on investment, showing what they're going to get out of it, that someday these students could be their employees, is going to help them really want to take action and want to be a part of this. And then researchers at the University of Canberra found that in virtually all cases, very notable positive effects were evident in participants of Outward Bound challenge courses. So they looked at 16 underprivileged youth in, I believe it was Australia, but it was a very similar challenge course to what you guys do in Omaha, and found that they were seeing themselves in a different light. They were learning these team building skills. They were learning how to try attack something from a different angle and overcome these challenges that they were faced with.
And from all of this research, we created our strategy and our positioning statement, which is by donating to Outward Bound Omaha, companies are giving young men the opportunities to seek adventures that will help them grow in teamwork, problem solving, and grit in a way that they otherwise would never get to experience. When companies choose to invest in Outward Bound, they are investing in young lives that are the future of Omaha. So the reason we decided to kind of go this way is because we want corporations who could potentially be donating, let them know that they're also benefiting from this and not just Outward Bound. We all kind of discussed that the things that you learn in the specific traveling that they do, or just the different activities that you put the boys through, they learn so many, like, teamwork, problem solving, and things that they can take into their potential futures. And so by letting corporations that could, potentially be donating to, just let them know that they could have these boys working for them someday.
So for our strategy, we really want to drive that idea that these kids that you are investing in could be working for you someday. So the brand personality is changing lives through challenging discovery. And we agreed that the best traits are educational, curious, enthusiastic, tenacious, resilient, gritty, and compassionate. And the tonality of our campaign, we decided personal because, like Abby said earlier, our campaign would be a mutually beneficial relationship. So also, we want to give these big corporations as much exposure to the kids that they would be helping. And also, by donating, these big corporations can become more personable and likable. And then informative, because after we did our primary research, we really found that the skills that kids are lacking in today's youth are the same skills that corporations are looking for when they go to hire someone. And those are the skills that they could potentially learn through an Outward Bound program. And then the reason to believe is that through Outward Bound, young men are given the skills and experiences to become more productive and successful members of the Omaha community.
So for our campaign, we really didn't want to recreate the wheel. We think what you guys are already doing is great, and we wanted to just kind of add to that in any way we could. So what we really want to drive home is the position that these kids are the future of Omaha. We want to give these corporations and these possible donors as much exposure to the kids as possible, specifically what they face on a daily basis and what they can get out of Outward Bound. To accomplish this, we want to incorporate the kids, their faces, their experiences, their testimonials in every aspect of our plan. And some of our tactics will include flyers with the kids' face on them, with their testimonials, one-on-one meetings with the corporations, with the students also there so they can share their experiences, and visual notes on invitations, giving them a compass. Really, when you guys talked about how these experiences can happen anywhere, in somebody's kitchen even, that really was kind of what we wanted to integrate into our plan.
Okay, so for the creative print, we have a couple physical copies that you can have. So with the invitation, we added actual string or twine and knot and compass, and we really wanted that to show that these experiences do follow you into your adult life, into the office, and to your corporate jobs. And we wanted things to be a lot more tactile. We wanted things to be very connected to the course and to the people donating. So with that, it's not perfect. There's grit to it. There's very visible examples of what hard work and commitment do, and the visualization that brings into the workforce. With the pamphlet page, that would be an additional one into the pamphlet in the booklet that you guys send out, because you said that is actually pretty well received with your donors. So we just wanted to add another testimonial and a little bit of a revamp when it comes to what you guys send out primarily.
And then for the next thing, we focus on the digital aspect because, like Sarah was saying, you said that you felt like a lot of the hard copies that you were sending out were doing pretty well, and so we really wanted to increase that digital kind of social media side. And so the first thing that we came up with was this post for social media. We focused primarily on Twitter and Facebook. And the idea behind this is, again, showing the kids' face. It makes it a lot more personal than just putting up text on a tweet. And so obviously you change the picture that's used just from one of the kids that is involved in Outward Bound. But then also, once a company invests or buys seats at the luncheon, you would change their logo. So we just did Bank of the West for an example. And so as soon as they invest or buy their seats, you change that logo around. And what this does is, again, gives that big kind of scary corporation, bringing them down to earth and saying, look, we're human, we invest in kids, we really care about the future of Omaha, and then they don't only benefit just by having that out, but it's also good for you guys because, again, it's adding this exposure of we are Outward Bound. And then it's very consistent with this what can we do for you mentality, so we're not the only ones benefiting from the money that's being brought in, but also you are too. And so, yeah, that was our digital that we'd come up with. And then we also decided to do a follow-up email, kind of like you guys are saying about the 7 touch points. This is just another touch point. It's so easy for papers and hard copies to get shuffled on desks. I mean, I can just imagine just different workplaces. There's a stack of papers and you guys are busy people, banks are busy people. And so we came up with this follow-up email. So about a month or so after those hard copy invitations are sent out, we're going to send out the email just saying, you know, here's the luncheon, these are the dates again, if you would like to donate, if you'd like to buy seats, this is what this is. And so it's basically just the part 2 follow-up of the invitation that's being sent out. And then lastly, we came up with a public relations kind of idea. And this includes one-on-one meetings. And the big idea of this meeting is for you guys to go and sit down with banks, big corporations that want to be seen as adventurous and very giving. And so what you would do is not only go and like you and Scott, it would also be bringing the kids in there and giving then again that touch point, that personal feel of this is what the kids are going through on your adventure courses and whatnot. And so a big thing we wanted to make sure to plan around was school. It's really hard to get kids out of school and schedule them back in without having the schools kind of saying, all right, where are our kids? Like, you're taking them out of school. And so they'd be scheduled during the summer. That way they could go. We're thinking 2 or 3 kids just giving their testimonials, saying their aspirations and what they want to do in the future and what they've learned from Outward Bound. And this all kind of stemmed from the idea that you and Scott were saying about Kanye, how he was on this adventure course, and what really got the banks were shaking his hand and seeing the skills that he was learning. And so bringing that experience to the office, and I think we can all agree too, we'd rather hear kids talk at a meeting than adults just kind of spiel. So that kind of makes it more fun and memorable for them too when they think of Outward Bound. And then to measure is pretty simple then to see kind of the return on all of these different kind of tactics that we're doing. And so it'll be just monitoring the amount of people that attend and how much money is raised compared to in the past. And then we came up with a timeline for all of these. And so May 1st, or whenever you guys send out your pamphlets, like we said, we think that you're doing really well with that side of the campaign. And so we just kind of guessed when you guys would be sending those out. And then from June 1st to August 16th, that's when you'd schedule to have those one-on-one meetings. So again, in the summer when the kids are available, you don't have to schedule around school. Their schedules are a lot more open. August 16th is the last day of summer too, so that's when kids wouldn't have to worry about scheduling with school. And then June 1st to the 20th, send out the invitations. That way you're giving also time for the follow-up emails or any questions that the companies have if they want to schedule those one-on-one meetings. And then June 1st to October 25th, that's just kind of when you'll be sending out the invitations, hearing if people are going to start investing again. And so getting those tweets out there. And then lastly, we'll do the follow-up emails just around July 1st to August 20th. We cut it off at August 20th because that way you guys can start planning for the catering, the seats that are there. Just that way you're not squeezing things in last minute. So that gives you plenty of cushioning room for that.
Okay. And so as a summary, we listened to you with our initial meeting, and through these 3 weeks we have tried to do our best to incorporate what you've done and added some different tactics that we believe could help you in your eventual goal of gaining attendance and investments. And with that, we wanted to showcase the skills, the benefits of what you guys do, and what can be returned to the community and to the businesses here. So with that, we just want to say thank you again. And at this time, we're open for questions.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. So I'm continually amazed at what you're able to pull together in 3 weeks. Yeah, I've got a long list of positives here. You clearly understood our issue and our goals, and I'm kind of I'm super impressed by the detail that you pulled out of that meeting. I mean, we threw so much at you in that very short amount of time, and the things that you're able to bring back and incorporate into into the premise and the positioning statement and the ideas based on words flying at you a million miles an hour. It's really impressive. So. I love the idea of helping to humanize the corporations. I know that that's an underlying principle of corporate social responsibility and philanthropy, and I think we have an opportunity to do that in an even stronger way with our organization and our partnerships. And so, with that, I enjoy the idea of using social media and available platforms to place our logos side by side with them, while also highlighting the impact or students having an experience. I just think that's something that we're not doing very well, and that we could very easily do. It's really low-hanging fruit that could be really powerful. So, really impressed by your primary and secondary research. I thought it was an innovative way to go. The interview with the Nike executive, and then thinking about, and then taking the material from that and thinking about how return on investment works into what we do. So framing it as these could be your future employees, I think is a really powerful statement to make. It's something that we haven't done yet. We say it indirectly, and I think you use the language, we're helping them become more productive members of society and helping them succeed. But to say to somebody that, they might actually come and work for you someday is a more direct and powerful idea. So I wrote here, skills we develop are skills for hire. So I just think that's good. Can I read my own writing? Nope, I can't. I can't read that one either. Cool. And just a more nutsy boltsy thing. Really appreciate the timeline. It's easy for us to sit down and throw out a bunch of ideas without really thinking about what it's going to take to materialize those ideas, and then how to strategically put them out into the world. And so having a timeline that's thoughtful about when the audience is going to receive it and how they should receive it is invaluable. So yeah, thank you very much.
We have a plans book too, but we can just have, send it to you digitally, so then you can have all the details.
I remember what my handwriting was. Who's this?
Oh.
Who's this? So, I love this. Yeah, so, this is...
All right, to our live stream, we'll continue with our third and final team here in just a moment. Again, this is advertising 489, and we are presenting our capstone projects for a group of 17 students this summer who accomplished their class in 3 weeks. Stay tuned for Team 3.
Todd, on behalf of our team, I just want to say thank you again. When we met with you guys a few weeks ago, we heard 2 key concerns, and through our research, our team has carefully crafted a campaign that we believe will not only meet your business objectives, but also help Outward Bound in their quest to bring experimental education programs to Nebraska. So this campaign was crafted by our team, starting with...
I'm Allison Wettig, I'm the account executive.
I'm Landon Volley, the social media strategist.
I'm Taylor Kapuska, and I'm the production strategist.
I'm Gabe Charlton, I'm the copywriter.
I'm Molly Meister, the designer.
And my name is Daisy, and I was the account planner. So from our meeting, we got 2 key concerns from you. We heard that you wanted a comprehensive social media strategy, and also that you wanted to increase attendance at the Climb Higher Luncheon from 500 to 600, and ultimately increase donations. From there, we did some research that led us to a compiled SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We found Outward Bound strengths consisted of a strong brand identity that was ready to be implemented across various social media platforms, and we also found partnerships with other nonprofits in the area. Both of these have provided us with a social media strategy that is readily accessible to an audience and has a recognizable brand. Weaknesses that we found our campaign will turn into strengths were first that ambiguous hashtag Climb Higher that other organizations might be using, and then your emphasis on organizations that donate larger amounts. And then, as you mentioned, one of the threats was that plateau in luncheon attendees and ultimately that plateau in donations. From here, we focused on 3 opportunities that will address both of your marketing concerns. First, according to Nonprofit Hub, the potential of mid-level donor is almost unlimited. Possible donations from employees of sponsored tables at the luncheon, and third, the ample places and times to interact with donors and showcase Outward Bound's visionary brand. Our team found
that the local community surrounding the Outward Bound facility provided insight to help us create our target audience. We actually went into that community and interviewed some local businesses. And what we found was, first of all, that 75% of North Star students reside in that, the zip code that Outward Bound is in. And second, according to interviews with those local business owners in the surrounding area, various workers claim that the neighborhood oftentimes feels unsafe, and given the chance to improve the surroundings of the business, they would. Ultimately, this means that individuals living in the surrounding areas and working in that area highly value their community and are willing and able to donate to an organization that is focused on doing so. One interview with a local business owner said, "I would donate more often if I felt like my contributions actually made a difference." And second, with a possible donor suggested, "It's all about the relationships. People notice those who support local efforts that better the community." The unique opportunity that lies within the local individuals invested in being an activist within his or her community also involves targeting mid-level donors, which I'll kind of explain a little more here. Based on research and an interview with a content strategist from Nonprofit Hub, we found that giving in the U.S. as a percentage of GDP has stayed at 2% for over 45 years, which means that income is growing, but the amount we're giving isn't. The issue isn't that people are selfish, it's that we're not asking enough of them, and we're not meeting them where they are at. Mid-level donors not only show that they care enough to give to your organization, but at a higher rate than your average donor, or maybe say an organization that donates those large amounts. The research continued to explain how we're gonna reach these mid-level donors. And that's through strategic personal solicitation, and having an amount in mind to be flexible and let donors navigate what their money goes to. And this will be executed through our strategic donor touchpoint plan, which we will discuss later in this. Mid-level donors are defined differently for each company, and for Outward Bound specifically, we examined and analyzed, and we found that mid-level donation would look like $250 to $990 yearly. This great opportunity lies within Omaha nonprofit community has 4 different aspects. First, that Omaha is the biggest city in the state. Second, that the average age of Omaha population is 33 years old. Third, middle-class citizens are most likely to be involved in the community. And fourth, that mid-level donors are most likely to donate to nonprofits. Thus, we have decided our target audience is a group of local Nebraska mid-level donors that are activists and adventurers in the community that are involved in education, at-risk youth, and or the well-being of his or her community.
I'm going to dig into some of the strategies that we came up with through developing our creative brief. Here at Outward Bound, all donations matter and contribute to the betterment of the local Omaha community. Big or small, every contribution is meaningful and acknowledged. That's really the promise that we want to hone in on throughout the entire campaign. So saying how $250 to $999, but some people they have a wide range of money that they can go to. So even $50 can send one of your students in their program to their summer camp. This includes breakfast and lunch and all of their activities. I think that when people are donating, they don't realize like how much that $50 can actually go towards. So putting it into perspective for them is very helpful. The challenge now is to show these mid-level donors how much their support means. We believe that our campaign will exhibit this promise. For mid-level donors, the Outward Bound Climb Higher Luncheon and its corresponding campaign is a nonprofit event that provides acknowledgement and satisfaction for community activists through the culmination of a carefully crafted program centered around building relationships. And this is how we started thinking about our big idea. At Outward Bound, the purpose of your program is to really give these kids something more in life. They come from homes that have a lot of emotional and financial support. And initially we discovered that many of these kids are on free or reduced lunch. This led us to realize that Outward Bound isn't just an after-school program and seeks to provide these kids with far more than just that lunch. They strive to give them a lunchbox full of utensils that they can use for the rest of their life. These kids need direction and guidance, and therefore we developed our campaign, More Than a Lunch. That just shows how the hashtag will be incorporated throughout the campaign. And then our second thought was that the luncheon could greatly benefit from a new, fresh logo. We made a couple of decals. These are just like stickers that you could maybe have on the tables or with people when they come in. this, just a new identity, and you'll see throughout the rest of our campaign, you'll see it in our posts and other materials that are present at the luncheon as well. 3 objectives that we're gonna focus on today. The first is our marketing objective. We want to better utilize our social media platforms. Across Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, we want to try to have 5 posts per week leading up to that luncheon. Secondly, we really want to improve the atmosphere itself. You've already laid a great foundation. You have a luncheon, now let's just try to solidify our foundation before we move on. And so to increase that attendance, we do want to go from 500 to 600 people. And then Taylor later will tell you how we think that we can do that. And then lastly, our donor relations objective. This is kind of a culmination of both the luncheon atmosphere and the marketing objective that will really focus on the relationship between the donors and Outward Bound.
So I'm going to go ahead and dive in and talk about a little bit more about the social media tactics and how we're going to implement those in to more efficiently reach that mid-level donor audience. I also want to take this time to just reiterate who exactly that target audience is. And like Daisy had said before, it's local Nebraska and mid-level donors that are activists and adventurers in the community that are involved in education and the at-risk youth, as well as the community as a whole. So we'll go ahead here and dive in. We want to mainly focus in on Facebook and LinkedIn, primarily because those we feel are a great opportunity. Facebook to communicate with our donors more casually, and then LinkedIn as a more professional way to communicate with young professional businesses and other investors as well. So we'll go ahead here. Here's a brief overview of all the social media tactics that we would like to implement. We'll go ahead and start with Facebook as well here. We want to implement what we call a student spotlight, and what this does, we have actually created a mock-up post that you could use. It's of a kid that went on one of their most recent adventures, and what this does is it just sheds light on the donor to what their it gives them a visual representation of what their donation actually goes towards. It also just shows in the eyes and hearts of these kids that is something that was once unthinkable for them to do, and now is becoming a reality, and they actually get to experience something that they didn't think that they would be able to do before those donations. And then also on Facebook, you guys, currently Outward Bound uses their, the only event that actually comes up is the luncheon from 2 years ago, which is great. We just thought we would also maybe make that a little bit more engaging, and then also maybe include some other events that we do on a weekly basis if your high ropes course is open to the public, or any other events to just keep our audience engaged in knowing what's going on and what we're doing on a weekly basis. We also, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Facebook badge, but we wanted to implement that as well. And what that does is it would just go over your Facebook profile picture, and it just generates some conversation and keeps people talking. I don't know if you're familiar with the Paris one that would come just straight down over your profile picture, and it's kind of like a I voted today sticker, and it just, like I said, generates some conversation as well. And then lastly, I believe for Facebook as well, I know a lot of people don't have the time, or they just can't make it in their schedule to go to the luncheon, but they still want to be a contribution to Outward Bound. So we thought it would be awesome if we could implement something that's just quick and easy to donate right then and there, just so they feel that they're a part of something, even though they didn't get to go to the luncheon as well. And then also, we currently, right now, the only way to buy a ticket, I believe, was through the website, which is awesome. It's right there. It's big on the headline on the luncheon. We thought we might implement that on all of our social media outlets as well, so it's just more visual and open for everyone to see as well. And then also we wanted to send a quick text response or an email saying, hey, thanks for signing in, and we're glad that you could find the time to come to the luncheon. And then moving on to LinkedIn, we thought this was a great business opportunity as well here. What we're going to do here is kind of the reciprocal of what we did for Facebook. Instead of shedding light on those students, we'd like to flip that and shed the light on the actual donors, and actually just give them some acknowledgement of what their donation does, and actually just that this whole thing is possible because of them as well. And like I said, this reaches out to young professionals on LinkedIn, as well as other businesses and mid-level donors that are just up and coming, and just getting this word out as well.
And a nice key feature about LinkedIn is that all of your finances can be on there. Two great examples were Charity Water and Tom's. You could see on there that over the past couple years, they've really been growing as an organization, and it's very easy. It's a free feature.
Yeah, and then also Instagram. As far as Instagram, we had that geared more towards millennials. What we wanted to do with Instagram, I know they actually don't, the Omaha one doesn't have a page, but we would like to create one and then use some of the adventurous photos that they're already posting on all of our platforms as videos as well. I know that keeps the audience engaged more if it's a video. And then also Twitter, we haven't specifically implemented into our social media plan. We just didn't feel that it fit our demographic, but we also realize that it is important to be engaging on all platforms. So we'll continue to use that as a communication tool as well.
Okay, so going into the luncheon tactics, we just wanted to exemplify the environment at the luncheon, making it more personable and memorable to the guests in order to reach the goal of increasing donations and guests. So we started with hospitality standards surrounding the event, and we decided to have outward bound students at the door greeting the guests as they walk in, handing them these personalized name tags, and the name tags, as you see, feature the logo, and they are, yeah, I think she has some examples right there. They are just a way to open up for conversation and also show the guests, every guest that walks through that door is important to us. And further, we're going to have outward bound students sitting at the table during the lunch with all of the guests. And that, again, just opens up conversation and allows the guests to see firsthand where their donations are going and hear stories of their experiences and seeing how it's benefiting the program and the children. Our next tactic was this beautiful photo wall that displays our hashtag More Than a Lunch. And this is very simple, but yet very interactive. We know that we're under a time crunch. We don't have a lot of time, but this takes less than a minute. Everyone likes taking pictures. Everyone likes sharing pictures, which would further spread the message of our campaign. And it also gives them sort of a direction if they would have just been standing around talking, waiting for the lunch to start. This gives them something to do with their either team or just alone, gives them something to do. And we also created these whiteboards that say, I climb higher for blank. And we would have a few of these, a few whiteboard markers, and this just allows the guests to write what's important to them, which is also important to us, write their values, what they believe in, just any of that just makes it more personal, makes it more personal to them. And our hashtag sharing is also very important, Landon talked about. This would be used across all mediums, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever they're more comfortable with, obviously, whatever they use personally. And this also allows for a place for all of the pictures and videos from the event just to be hosted in one area. So if someone maybe couldn't make it to the event, or if they wanted to look back on the event, they can just click on this simple hashtag and just see a grand scheme of everything that went on. And then another tactic was the personalized envelopes that we would have for the guests at the lunch table when they would sit down. And as you see, it has that I climb higher for blank. And that just engages them right off the bat, as opposed to just an envelope that says like donations here. This like lets them know that we care about what they care about, we value what they value. And then it directs them to the back of the envelope that has their name, thank you for coming, thank you for your kind donation, and every dollar matters. And again, that just goes towards our targeted mid-level audience, just saying, you know, some people at the tables, they might just be there because their boss wanted to fill up the table. So this just lets, if they have $1, $5, $10, anything that they can give, we value all of the donations. We have this interactive fundraising chart that we created, and it has a little climber that you can move with the donations as you get up, and the power of visuals go a long way. So this just allows to allow for some competition among the guests, and also incentive, and creates a hype around raising money. And lastly, a personalized letter is extremely important. We wanted to have those sent out 48 hours after the event, so it's fresh in their minds. And according to Nonprofit Hub, they said, instead of just leaving a letter, thanks for coming, see you next time, it's really important to give them some direction. So we included in our mock-up that we would love to, we look forward to like hearing them again, and directed them towards your webpage, and also just told them to go get updates there. They can sign up for email updates, and also updates from pictures from the event.
I just wanted to stop this time to ask if you had any questions before we carried on to our last strategy.
No.
Okay, sounds good. Just at this point, you might be feeling overwhelmed by all the tactics that you've heard today, and just from us and from everyone. So we started thinking, like, if you left here today, like, where would you even start? And we know that your resources and time are very limited, and utilizing them to the max is very important. So we did come up with a donor touchpoint plan. It's also kind of a timeline that tells you what to do for each donor, whether it's a first-time donor, returning donor, or the luncheon donor. within 24 hours, follow up with an email, within 2 weeks, a personalized card in the mail would be really awesome. And then a really key part is getting a database. You know, how do you remember every single person's donor, how much they're donating, their contact information, their address. So we try to find a donor management program. I'm not sure if you're on one right now, or but there's a lot of them out there. This was just an affordable one we found. We thought if you had an intern in the fall that only worked 10 hours a week and you paid them minimum wage, they would cost you $2,300. With this management program, that's a yearly charge, and it does everything for you. So pretty much every tactic that we told you today, personalized cards, email blasts, reminders, all those databases would all be in this and do the work for you, and that would just be a huge time saver, especially with your small team that you guys have. And you're already doing really great, and it would just, I think, make it a lot easier for you guys. This is like the templates that they have on there for birthdays, anniversaries, holiday cards. It's all the work is done for you, and so then you can just like put in the name and send it out. And one key thing that we did have, one of our clients from we called a local business, and the client mentioned that they used to donate to Outward Bound, but they no longer were doing so. They didn't know if like the connection just kind of fizzled out, and so that was a real key reason why we wanted that program, to make sure that doesn't happen again, or if it does, we know why. And that way we're not asking the same people for money all the time or letting someone slip through the cracks. So in conclusion, just through extensive research and team strategizing, we think that our More Than a Lunch campaign will allow donors to feel personally connected to this message, while inviting mid-level donors to see that the luncheon is not just an excuse to get out of work for that day, but we understand that every dollar is valued, and it goes beyond just a one-time event of the luncheon itself. Just a reminder for today, everything we told you, we wanted our campaign to be really centered around measurable, budget-friendly, immediately implementable, goal-oriented, clear and concise. Nonprofits don't have huge budgets to work with, so everything you need to do needs to matter and have an impact. If you could take 3 things away from us today, we'd like them to be focused on mid-level donors, improve your luncheon atmosphere, and then every social media platform should just have a cohesive feel. That's pretty much all we have for you today. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Wow, every presentation has been so different, and yet they all are, I feel like I could take all of them.
It's good to hear.
And so this is great. I love the focus on the mid-level donor. It's something that we talk about because mid-level donors are people that give over and over again, and then if we're talking about that demographic of the young professional or the mid-career person, they're going to be donors for life, and they're going to just increase their giving. So I thought that the approach you took for the mid-level donor was so appropriate in thinking sort of tactically and making this a very personal appeal to them, building relationships and then having regular touch points that meet them where they are. So let's see. As a strategic planner, I love the SWOT. I use it all the time, and people think the SWOT. Some people think that the SWOT is old and out of touch, and then when they bring their own, you realize it's just a variation on SWOT. And so, thank you for doing that, and because that's where I always start too. I thought you were very accurate in your analysis of our strengths and our weaknesses and our opportunities. I had a question around you interviewed some local businesses. Let's see. They said local business owners believe in the improvement of the community and were willing to give for the improvement of the community. Were the questions you directed at them about North Star or Outward Bound specifically, or were they just more general?
It was geared more towards generally just donations in general to mid-level donors, but we just asked them why they donate specifically versus one nonprofit over the other is basically what we asked them there.
In terms of the local business around the facility, we started with, have you heard of Outward Bound? Do you guys donate anywhere? We did ask
ask, how does
that
that,
great feedback? Like, we've heard of them, we're not sure exactly what they're, if they didn't know exactly, they still had a very positive impression of the company. It's just
Excellent.
good feedback to me.
Really impressed that you did that research. That's really important for us to know. We don't always know, what our perception is in our immediate environment. So, let's see. I love this idea that we're just not asking enough. That's a really powerful thought of the mid-level donor. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This was a really great point that you made. We talk about this all the time, and we want to figure out a way to map it out, but how to define where the money goes. So, it's easy to, talk to, a corporate sponsor and say, here's the $10,000 we'll do, or maybe they just don't care as much or on that level. I mean, they care, but they know that it's going all over the place to operations and to overhead and to programming. But that mid-level donor wants to know, what $250 means or what $500 means. And it's not hard for us to do that. We just need to find a meaningful way to say it and to present it. And I think that's something that we need to focus on. So thank you for that. Let's see. I love these new materials. I think of the fresh logo.
and here's
I
our
think they're
plans book as well.
and, oh, cool. Wow, beautiful. Yeah, I love all the materials. So I think the tactics that you have are really thoughtful. I love the I climb higher for ideas. So that's feedback that we can get from everybody in real time, and then it also gives people a chance to express themselves and connect directly with their mission.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. So many great tactics, and we're going to have to figure out how we can do them because they're all really good. And some of them are really low-hanging fruit that we should be doing anyway. So I also like that you focused on the event itself and thinking about some new ideas for that. I think last year was my first luncheon, and I really enjoyed it. But I could tell by talking to some of the people who were on the organizing committee that a lot of the things have stayed the same from year to year, and that it might be time for some fresh ideas. So I think we've got a lot to work with here.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
So what about other questions? Anyone from our audience have questions you'd like to ask?
Like a slew of questions for each team, but we can do that.
Maybe I'll invite the teams to stick around and answer any other additional questions that we have. And in the meantime, thank you all again for being here. Todd, again, thank you so much for being part of this process. Thank you all for watching. Do stick around then, teams, all right?